I literally, Brandon, I'm gonna probably hurt your feelings again. I didn't see the other two Jurassic World movies. I just saw this one, obviously.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Why Are You Still Here? The show nobody
Super
watches
late night edition.
except for 3 people. That's it. Maybe 4. Maybe 5.
You're looking at 2 of them.
But that's probably it. Yes, 100%. Super late night edition. It is now currently 1:54 a.m. for
I
anybody
still
that
haven't
cares.
even eaten dinner yet today. I'm fucking starving. I'm so hungry I could eat a dinosaur.
Very good. Very good. And today, you might be trying to read what's behind my head here. And no, we're not talking about Star Wars. How dare you read what I have covered up? I see you out there. I'm not having it. But if you look at this piece of paper right here, you'll see that it says Jurassic World Dominion. So that gives you a little hint that that's probably what we're talking about today. And we're going to do like a brief non-spoiler review for anybody that wants to watch the first couple minutes of this video and then skedaddle, or watch the whole thing. I'm not your boss, okay? I could be, but I'm not. All right. But I am going to read the IMDb synopsis of this bad boy, because earlier I was trying to think how exactly would I sum this movie up, and unfortunately it's all spoilers. So I was like, yeah,
That's actually a good point. I was thinking the same thing myself.
Yeah, it's interesting because I read the synopsis that I'm about to read right now, and it's really not the synopsis of the movie. So
Good. I
that's
can't wait.
fine though. It's the official one. All right, so kick back and listen then. 4 years ago, after the destruction of Isla Nublar, dinosaurs now live and hunt alongside humans all over the world. This fragile balance will reshape the future and determine, once and for all, whether human beings are to remain the apex predators on the planet they now share with history's most fearsome creatures in a new era.
That is literally the first 2 minutes of the movie.
If that. I don't think this is a question even posed in the movie. Where they're like, humans, where do we fall in the food chain now? That's not ever talked about unless I fell asleep for a second or briefly had a stroke and then came back and started watching the movie again. No, that's not the synopsis. And unfortunately, during the non-spoiler part, we can't talk about the synopsis really, because there's one specific chain of events that sets off the rest of this movie, and it's a spoiler. I mean, of course, it's a massive spoiler. So what I can say is what, everybody knows. You have access to all this information. The movie stars Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, Ron Howard's daughter. I don't know if you knew that. Laura Dern, Sam Neill, Jeff Goldblum.
Yes.
Jeff
Goldblum being Jeff Goldblum.
Very much
my favorite. He's my favorite part of the movie, hands down. He's
the best part of any movie. I know you really liked him in Fallen Kingdom.
Yes.
And
we won't talk about that.
DeWanda Wise and Isabella Sermon. That is the cast. Yeah. So, I mean, really everything is a spoiler from what I can tell here. I've watched a couple people's reviews on YouTube to try and get like a feel of how they're going about this, and everybody's just jumping right into spoilers. So I'm guessing this is sort of like a universal feeling amongst everybody. But I mean,
so
I don't
before we get to
know.
the spoiler part,
Give me
I guess we'll just tell the people.
yes.
Give
me, I don't know, just your non-spoiler thoughts on
it. If you're looking for actually really damn good visual effects and you just want to see like dinosaurs fighting, and maybe you're younger or you just like action, you could get something out of this. It's a nice summer blockbuster movie. Not the worst movie I've ever seen. Definitely is not the best. It is just mediocre in basically every sense of the word. I think if I were to give it like a rating, a flat 5, because for like everything it does right, it just does 2 or 3 things wrong. So it's just the scales are never balanced with this movie. If the original trio wasn't in this movie, and I'm not the biggest Jurassic Park fan to begin with, I would have zero use for this movie. I probably would have just left.
There's a specific reason for that, though.
We won't get into that.
Others,
now, though, but
probably don't feel the same way about that specifically. But unless they do, I don't know. I can't speak for human nature. I wish I could. I've tried, but people tell me no. Yeah. So I'm happy that you brought up the visual effects. So this is something I said to you in a text message the other day. And by the other day, I mean last night. That, and I have, been reassured of it by video footage, which I will insert into this video. But there's a lot of practical effects in this movie. Tons of them. So many of them, more than I thought there was.
To do this, we assumed with the level of advancements in CGI, it would be amazing and digitally enhanced.
But they were wrong. There was no shortage of animatronics for these actors to work with. These real, breathing dinosaurs made the set feel like another world, making it extremely easy for the actors to feel transported. Do you think they made the right call, or would you have liked to see some CG dinos?
I mean, there was shots in this movie I was convinced were visual effects, really good visual effects, but still visual effects, and they were practical. They did practical effects for things that they didn't even need to do it with, and they still did it. So I really respect that. But I know that Colin Trevorrow, that's kind of what he does. That's sort of his thing. He's been doing it since the first Jurassic World. And unless it's something where you just, it'd be too expensive or impractical to use the, excuse me, the, practical effects for, then he'll go to visual effects for those things. But there's tons of that kind of stuff in this movie, which is really cool. The stuff that you can tell for sure is visual effects still also looks pretty damn good. This is the best looking one of the 3 as far as the visual effects goes, though all of them were solid. To be honest with you, I might not like the second movie in this trilogy, but it still had tons of cool visual effects in it. I feel very much the same. I mean, mediocre is what I wrote down in my notes, which unfortunately I forgot a pen to bring. So with Crimes of Dumbledore, with Secrets of Dumbledore, I literally brought a piece of paper and a pen, and I wrote it in the theater. And with this, I didn't have a pen. I had a piece of paper, but that doesn't do you much good. And I wasn't going to be the guy taking out my cell phone, obviously. So I had to try and remember everything I possibly could that I wanted to talk about, and then quickly type it into my phone as soon as the movie was over. But I feel a little bit differently. I would give it a 5.5 or a 6 out of 10 personally.
What's the extra oomph for you?
I mean,
Other than being a bigger Jurassic
I'm a big
Park
fan of Jurassic Park. That's a big thing for me. I mean, it's the first movie, and then Jurassic World are pretty much the entire series for me. I definitely have I see value in Lost World. There's a lot of nostalgia with that movie for me. That was definitely the one I watched more when I was a kid. And the third one's a weird one.
Alan.
I don't know if you know, but it is the shortest of the series. There was tons of issues with it. And it's like an hour and 40 minutes long. Like, it's way too short. Like, it should be a 2-hour long movie, and it doesn't really have 3 acts either. It's very strange.
Well, that was the one thing I didn't write in my notes, but I texted you like my thoughts from the late night showing that I saw. And that movie was just fucking way too long, man. That was a 2.5 hour movie. They could have cut 45 minutes out of that movie easy.
Mm-hmm. It's too long, but it also in some ways isn't long enough. And I say that because this should have been like, they're trying so hard to do this 3-part thing. It suffered from the same thing that Rise of Skywalker suffered from, which was trying to do too much in too small of an amount of time. There should have been a part 1 and part 2. Split up those stories, because it's, the stories that the movie encompasses are 2 very separate stories until the last, last act, really. Very separate, like separate sides of the world, kind of separate. And they end up merging together, which is great, but it probably would have been better if it was a part 1 and part 2. And you could still say, hey, it's a trilogy. We filmed this movie together. Technically, it's one big, long movie. And I don't know why they didn't do that. I think that it would have benefited massively from that. But I don't know. I'll tell you, the extra oomph is the fact that, and I said in my short that I made the other day, that Fallen Kingdom was the first movie in the entire series that felt like a swift kick to my nutsack. And yes, so the fact that this one did not do that to me, I'm like, okay, there you go. You get extra points for that.
Fair enough.
If I were to rate Fallen Kingdom, we're looking at 3 out of 10 on that bad boy. So,
ooh, that's low.
Well, it sucks.
Oh yeah. And that's me probably being generous to that movie as well.
I see.
Okay. I'll say one last thing, and then we'll go into spoilers. And that is, the movie's a little bit preachy. I don't like movies that get preachy, especially when they're adventure movies or fantasy movies or whatever.
That's how I felt about Avatar.
A little preachy.
And I've never been a huge fan of Avatar, because it just preaches that we're horrible to the environment. These aliens know what they're doing. And then this destructive white man with a crew cutting a cigar hanging out the corner of his mouth is and that's like the villain of the fucking movie. I don't like to be told that I'm a piece of shit.
Right. I already feel like a piece of shit. I mean, I don't need it hammered into my head more. And I don't think that this is really a spoiler, because it's something that has come up steadily throughout the series. And that is, I feel bad enough for what happens to real world animals. I don't need to feel bad about what happens to fake animals too. Okay. Like I already, like, my entire mind is usually taken up by like the cows of the world that are being abused and all of that kind of stuff. The whole, and there's obviously a black market for, exotic animals like tigers and lions and stuff, all that kind of stuff. And it literally pains me. And I'd like to go and see a movie to get away from the real world, to get away from that kind of stuff. So when you are implementing, that kind of real world drama and preachiness into a movie that's supposed to be there for entertainment, it bothers me. right? So that's what the second movie did too. Lost World was into that, but that one I'll give more of a pass because it was the first one to do it. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
it was more unique. This one kind of rides on the coattails of that one. But I didn't like it in that movie either. So I don't think that there's anything else really to be said about it. The direction was fine. The acting was good for the most part. The dialogue was decent. There was nothing that stuck out to me as like corny or particularly weird or anything like that. So yeah, the writing was decent. It definitely wasn't like award worthy because the writing is definitely where there are flaws for the movie as well. But yeah, so you gave it a 5, so 5 out of 10, which I think is a little bit harsh, but that's fine. And I give it a 6 out of 10. So yeah, if that's all you wanted to hear from us, then be off with the skedaddle.
Be on your merry way.
Yes. And yeah, for anybody that's still here, then I hope you saw the movie. Yeah, why are you still here? That was good. I did not even sort of see that coming, so that was good.
Clever girl.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And yeah, so now I can really get into it here. And the whole reason, as you should know, because you saw the movie, right? The reason you can't say really what the synopsis of the movie is because the synopsis is that
It's the first minute and a half of the movie.
that is what the IMDb synopsis is, the first minute of the movie. Which, side note, it was really great to see Basil Exposition making a cameo in this movie. And no, I don't mean the actor. I mean literally a character that is just walking exposition. It starts off with her where she goes and she's like a newscaster. And she goes and she sums up the last 2 movies for you very conveniently at the beginning of this movie. And I don't know why they did that. It was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And I'm like, well, whatever. That's
for people
fine.
like me. They needed a recap.
Yeah. If people haven't, if it's been a while since they've seen those other movies, then great. But then she comes in at the end and make sure that there's a nice button on the movie for you that you kind of understand what transpired in this movie. It was so weird. So weird.
She bookended the movie for us.
Yes, correct. She really is. The bookends of this movie, or like I wrote in my notes, Basil Exposition. Because truly she's just the exposition character that shows up just for exposition, and that's it. The plot of the movie though is the clone girl Maisie Lockwood being abducted by people at the same time that Blue's daughter gets abducted from her. So Chris Pratt has to go on a mission to find his surrogate daughter and Blue's daughter. Who was a
whiny bitch in this movie, I'll tell you that much.
She was. It was weird. It was, I'm kind of fed up. Cody Leach said this as well. I fully agreed with it. I'm fed up with that kind of character showing up in everything these days. Like, great. Yeah, teenagers suck. I was an annoying son of a bitch when I was a teenager too, but not much has changed. But it's still annoying to see. Yeah, so there's a company that is called, Biosyn.
The company that's headed by Tim Cook.
Correct.
He looks a lot
like it took me a while watching the movie to find out where I knew him from, and I knew him from the Amazing Spider-Man movies.
Okay.
He's Peter Parker's dad, Richard Parker. So I was like, but yes, he does look a lot like Tim Cook. And I feel like that's almost what they were going for in a weird way, because he's like weird and like it's sort of eccentric, and and it was interesting. So yeah,
I didn't even
Biosyn
remember his
plays
name.
into
I literally
this.
just called him Tim Cook the whole movie. I even texted Brandon. I said, I love that Tim Cook had his breakout acting role or whatever I said to you.
Yeah, whatever you said. Which
I don't know why I'm
is
so fixated on that.
one of the first issues with this movie as well is it's sort of heavy-handed with a couple things that stuck out to me. I'm like, it's very heavy-handed and strange, and maybe bad writing, pedestrian writing, maybe as well, is the fact that you legitimately have a swarm of locusts. Like,
oh my god,
come on.
You know, the whole that was one of my fucking things I want to bring up to you was the locust thing that are like the size of a fucking like basketball. Okay,
Yeah,
I
like it.
It was so stupid. It made me think of The
Yeah.
Exorcist 2, The Heretic, with the whole locust scene, and fucking
Yeah.
it was just as bad then. It was just as bad now.
It's one of the signs of the apocalypse. Like, how heavy-handed can you get with it that this is the end of the world? Like, you can be much more subtle, like pull back the reins a little bit. You don't have to go that far into it. Like, the next thing I could imagine is the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And now that I'm thinking, when they were riding horses, was there 4 of them?
Oh god,
There might have been 4 of them.
I wanted to show them something that wasn't.
That would be fantastic. That would be truly fantastic.
Anything that
yes.
proves their point further, yes.
So there's not a whole lot else I have to say about the earlier parts of the movie. I loved being a fan of dinosaurs in general. Obviously not as much as I was when I was a kid, but it was great to see a dinosaur with feathers on it, if we're gonna at least touch on positive things in this movie. I don't know if you are aware, but they have discovered within the last like 10-15 years that most dinosaurs in fact had feathers. The raptors, T-Rex, you name it.
Yeah, I've
most
heard
of them
about
had feathers. So that one,
and they have
really
like ties
creepy
to chickens
one
through the ancestral line.
Well, yes, T-Rex, their closest living relative is a chicken, which is pretty crazy.
But it's so cool.
For the longest time, people thought that that dinosaurs evolved into lizards, but in fact, dinosaurs evolved into birds, which flies in the face of the whole meteor hitting the world and killing them all off, because if you in fact kill them all off, they cannot evolve. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm no mathematician here, but I think that that's wrong.
Do you mean to tell me that I came here because a tadpole jumped out of a pond and turned into a frog that turned into a monkey that turned into me?
What
Where's
the hell
the
is
in-between? People who a creationist.
Oh, okay. You just came up with that?
No, there's like a joke to it about like,
oh, okay,
like a very simplified view of like a tadpole jumping out of a pond that turned into a frog that turned into a monkey that turned into you. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I just thought it was funny. I wanted to put that in there.
Very good. Yeah. So anyway, feathered dinosaur. Don't know what that thing was. It seemed like it had raptor qualities to it. I don't know if you are aware as well, but velociraptors were a real dinosaur, but they don't look anything like they're portrayed in the movie. They were much smaller. The size of like Blue's daughter, like that's the size of a full grown velociraptor. The ones that they use in the movie, I wish I did my research. This is just stuff I just know off the top of my head. The ones in the movie, the tall boys with the with their claws, or talons or whatever you want to call them. That was something, but it wasn't a velociraptor. It has a longer, more complicated name. And Steven Spielberg thought that Velociraptor just sounded better and cooler for that kind of dinosaur, which was a threat, obviously. So he kind of like switched some things around, and they just stuck with that, which is fine, I guess, you know, consistency and all that. Speaking of dinosaurs, and I promise this is the last one where I specifically mentioned a dinosaur. I loved seeing the Dilophosaurus, you know, that killed Newman in the first movie, which is they have the
the thing.
Yes, and they spit poison in your eye and all that kind of fun stuff. There was like 3 or 4 of them in this movie, and I loved it. I was like let's see here. Why, you know, Colin Trevorrow, I like you. I like you a lot. Okay. It's been his long-term goal since the first Jurassic World that he wanted to have the dinosaurs break out and be in the real world. Now, this is something that has been promised to us since The Lost World, where, you know, the movie gets all cattywampus towards the end and there's T-Rexes walking around in San Diego, which is a fun part of the movie, but a weird part of the movie. And then like a T-Rex and a dog come in contact with each other. He has been obsessed with this idea. So he was like, it's all building towards this. It's going to be awesome. This is what I've always wanted to do. And then this movie comes out, and how long are dinosaurs in the real world, Lucas? Would you say 5 minutes of the movie? 6 minutes of the movie? Because the movie spends a little bit of time delving into this subject. You see they're not pterodactyls. I think they're too big to be pterodactyls, but they're like, you know, they built a nest on the top of One World Trade Center in New York City, and they like are swooping down into it, and they're all over the place. You know, a cheetah is running after a dinosaur, and there's horses and, you know, rhinos and elephants and all this stuff. They're all getting along. And then they delve into a little bit of the, you know, black market animal trade that's going on with the babies. And I'm like, first off, that was it.
Who the fuck is buying the illegal dinosaurs?
Assholes.
What are you to do with an illegal dinosaur?
I'm Joe Exotic. I am not cutting my hair. I'm not changing the way I dress. I refuse to wear a suit. I am gay. I've had some kinky sex. I have tried drugs through the younger years of my life. I am broke as shit. I have a judgment against me from some bitch down there in Florida. But I can tell you, I paid a fine with the USDA, and that is nothing but a civil fine, ladies and gentlemen.
People don't care. They just want to brag about having these animals, and they just assume that they're not ever going to get in trouble for it. So it would happen. It would definitely happen for sure, which sucks. But so yeah, the movie ends up basically just becoming a, you know, it goes back into like a park, you know, like this biosyn place is basically just a park. So that's where the movie spends its entire last act, if not more than that, in this park. So
exactly. And then the whole crux of the movie is to get the original cast to this park. And for what? I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. It was just a little bizarre that we're sending the original cast here, and then Chris Pratt and the new gang are all gonna be there to meet, and then we're gonna have this big blowout explosion. And for all the marketing of this movie is about the main three and having them back, because they weren't in the other ones. They never set up this torch to be passed to a new generation. Then we might have like a third trilogy down the line or something, what have you. But as much as I love them in this movie, yeah, no, I enjoyed everything with them. I just wish they were in it a little bit more for as long as this movie is.
I will be honest, you know, if I have to talk about positives of this movie, the entire time that those three characters were on screen, I just sat there like this.
Yeah, it's very good.
Like, I just felt myself smiling. And, you know, that's not to say that the writing got any better during those scenes or anything like that, but I just loved
it's just
them,
you just
their
got
presence,
something out
their
of it.
characters. It was great. And I feel like they spent as much time on them as you possibly could. This, you know, Jurassic World trilogy, Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard are the stars of it, so you can't take their screen time away from them.
I can still complain about it though. I just wanted more Jeff Goldblum lines.
Oh yeah, ooh, that's how it always starts. But then later there's running and screaming.
Did Jeff Goldblum seem like he was a little bit off to you?
Like he was like phoned in off, or like he was like high the whole time or something?
He's not high. I don't think he's high.
We not only lack dominion over nature, nobody knew what to expect with genetic engineering, but they pressed the button and hoped for the best, just like you are doing now. Yep. You control the future of our survival on planet Earth.
I don't know. I don't know what it was. It was almost like he was trying to like Jeff Goldblum, and he went too far into the Jeff Goldblum.
You made a promise to a dinosaur.
Yeah. What?
Oh yeah, I kind of
Like
noticed like it was Jeff Goldblum being Jeff Goldblum,
Yes.
not the character
Yes.
that he is.
Yes.
I think he's become a meme of some sorts, to where he just has to uphold this kind of image, you know what I mean? And that he's like, he thrives off of it. Maybe a narcissistic thing, I don't know.
Agreed. I don't think it's
yeah,
narcissistic. I hope not, at least, but I love Jeff Goldblum. Love him. Adore the hell out of him, but he
What's
felt
your favorite
like
Jeff
he
Goldblum
was.
movie?
I mean, it's Jurassic Park.
So you two dig up dinosaurs?
Well,
Try to.
Of course.
Okay, that's not mine. You know, mine is The Fly. I love The Fly with Jeff Goldblum. What a gross ass fucking movie.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, it's exactly the kind of movie that is like outside of my bounds of likability or whatever. Like I can handle a little bit of grossness, but when it gets too gross, I'm like,
nasty.
I'm good. Exactly.
But
that's
you love
the problem. Yeah, that is different to me though. I don't know why. It just is. Maybe it's because it's John Carpenter. I don't know. So there is something that you most certainly don't know, unfortunately, but the character of Owen, which is played by Chris Pratt, has been long to be believed to be the kid from the very first Jurassic Park that Sam Neill basically scares with the raptor claw. I can't even remember what the kid says, but it's like at the dig site. He's just like, Dr. Grant, that doesn't look like a big deal to me. It looks stupid. Something like that. And he comes over and is like, well, just imagine that the raptor is taking this claw and ripping out your stomach. And he like takes it and like runs it across like his stomach on his shirt. And ever since then, it's like that kid learned to have a respect for raptors, dinosaurs in general, but specifically raptors.
So is this
and
a
then
fan
he
theory, or did they
grows up to
confirm
become
it in this
Owen.
movie?
It's a fan theory, and I thought that they were going to confirm it in this movie, and they didn't, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that, but it was definitely worth noting because specifically when they come in contact with each other, there's that moment where it was like they know each other, and then it's like Owen's like, oh, I read your books, and he's like, oh, I've heard of you too. Didn't you train raptors? And he's like, yeah. And it was like, okay, that was it. And then later on, they make a point of Dr. Grant saying, you know, when I first started doing this, we used to think that raptors disemboweled their prey. Now we know, again, calling back to that very scene from the original movie, now we know that they go right for your veins, in your throat, in your arms. They go right for the veins. And so I'm like, they're calling back to that scene again. I feel like they're setting this up for this to be revealed, but it wasn't. So, you know,
Nope.
I was surprised, not necessarily a big deal. And Ellie and Alan finally get together. That's been a big will they, won't they for the longest time. So good on
and they
them
made like jokes
for...
about it when they saw each other again for the first time in 30 years, whatever.
Yes. And
I think even Jeff Goldblum like makes a joke about it too at one point, if I'm not mistaken.
I wouldn't put it past Jeff Goldblum.
No. Yes.
The very last thing I wanted to touch on is that, like, really, this movie ends with another dino fight. How many times can you keep doing that exact same ending for every single one of these movies? I think
the answer is
the first movie is the only one that I don't think does it, but all the others do. Maybe the second one doesn't either. I'm trying to remember, but the third one certainly does with the Spinosaurus and the, you know, Adonimus Rex and Jurassic World. And I'm sure Fallen Kingdom, I tried to remove that movie from my mind. Probably has something in it as well, but yeah, there's it's always that it's a T-Rex, which everybody loves a T-Rex, and it's against something else, and then the T-Rex prevails. It just keeps happening, and it's like, great. Maybe they did it because this is the last one. I don't know, but it was worth a note to me. So that is all.
Now Duncan is crying at the door. I can hear him.
Oh, good, because he has very, very specific, and very controversial opinions about the Jurassic Park series. One time I got a call from Lucas's phone number, and I'm like, it's so weird that he's calling me, but I picked it up anyway. And it was Duncan telling me that the only good Jurassic Park movie is the third one. And I was like, no, that's like the worst. And then he said, yeah, tell that to Fallen Kingdom. And I said, touche. And then he hung up on me. So I'm like, well, it's very strange. At least I thought it was Duncan. I mean, it was like Lucas, but a little Scooby-Doo-esque.
I was about to say, was it Frank Welker?
Yes. No, it was the original guy that voiced Scooby-Doo, who was a massive smoker and just talked like that. Like the character was designed for him. He did it for the TV show.
That is funny.
Yeah, that he died most certainly of lung cancer. Most certainly. I've never been so sure of anything in my entire life. But anyway, that's it. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Let us know.
Always, everybody. Thank you.
What did you think of the movie?
Let us know. What did you think of the movie?
Yeah, let us know. What is your favorite movie from the series? And where would you rate this one amongst those movies? And what's your score for it? Tell us everything. We love to hear it.
Yes, we do.
And I don't usually say this, but I am starting to notice that nobody does it. And so I feel like I have to start mentioning it now. Guys, if you like our videos, please hit the like button. It helps us out massively. So much.
People understand.
So much more than people understand. People can comment all the time on our videos. They can have, watch them constantly. Unless you're hitting that like button, YouTube has no idea that you are liking our videos, unfortunately, or dislike them. Dislike, it does the same thing. Dislike our videos. As long as there's some type of activity on that front going on, and YouTube is like, hey, we see this, and the algorithm will get people to come watch our videos. So that's it. I won't harp on it. I know how annoying that can be, but yeah. So comment below, let us know all your thoughts and feelings, and I will do my best to be your therapist. So bye everybody. Thanks for joining us.